So to continue on our theme of superheroes impacting real world issues, I'm going to go a little bit more in depth, more deep actually, and ask what values do you feel superheroes represent, or at the very least should represent, in the modern socio-political climate? We had a lot of change in the world in how people interact and people see each other. And how do you think that superheroes, if you think at all, impacted those kind of ideas?
So I think that one of the areas I've been most intrigued by with superheroes is kind of their ability to walk in the gray area. Like when we watch Captain America Civil War and they're battling each other over what's the best way to be good. Like, I think it's so intriguing the nuance that they look at and how we have to really think about nuance. Black and white doesn't exist, good and evil doesn't exist. We need to be looking at the nuances. In my work with CASA, we work with children in the Child Protective Services system. Some people are going, all parents in that system are bad. Some people are going, the CPS system is bad, right? But it's not. It's a nuanced system. It needs to be there to help families heal if it can, or put kids in better situations. But it's so finely nuanced, and I think that's such an important value we can see from superheroes.
I think that's one of the biggest problems that we have. Anytime I'm like on any kind of social media and I see people going back and forth, and I try so hard to be out of it, but the whole idea that villains, just like what a superhero is subjective, villainism is subjective too. Yeah. The good supervillains are the ones who don't even think that they're villains, you know, and it's the idea of not necessarily a villain but an adversary. So Civil War, great example of them. It was not that one of them was wrong and one of them was right. It was that they had different views that couldn't coexist, and it's how do you come to a balance in between them.
Well, to your point about like the villains not thinking they're bad, I'm teaching writing camps all this month, and the examples that I use for how to write your villain have been Killmonger and Thanos and people like that in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, because when you look at them, they don't think that they're doing anything wrong. And Killmonger had the same goal that we actually see T'Challa and Shuri want, that they want to expand what their country is able to do for people, but he wanted to go about it in the wrong way.
And sometimes that's another thing. It's how you get there.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that's what makes, we talk every day about how that makes the better villain, is that person who has the right ideal but the wrong motivation behind it. And so it's really a great, that's something else that you can take away, kind of that nuance, is that what you do with that idea is important. It's not just
we just finished up the last season of S.H.I.E.L.D. We finally got a chance to sit and catch up on it, and Talbot, at the end of it, it's the same, and we're like, we were talking about Marvel Cinematic Universe, that's really a good example of how they've won audiences over with it, is not making it like, you know, good guy wins, you know, or you're the bad guy. I mean, you get to the entire season and you're fighting basically and essentially he thinks he's the good guy,
right?
You know, and that's what's one of our biggest problems that we have, is it's like, you know, and I'm not gonna name political figures, but you know, in their minds they're doing something good. They think that they're helping America.
It's like Thanos is really, to go back to Captain Planet, the same character, also with jewelry, and the same goal, but a very different method.
Right.
Very different way to go about that. But he still had to unite them all.
Yeah.
Any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, my basic perspective is, from my mindset and the tie-in I see between real world and superheroes, is by and large, every superhero is a volunteer.
Yep.
Very few are actually doing it for remuneration. So I've always seen people, such as some people in this room, people that give of their own time to a cause without the expectation of remuneration.
Right.
That's the stepping stone to becoming a real hero, is you're going to be a hero to somebody.
Right.
And, you know, for a long time after I did the TV show, I did a series around Texas called Being a Hero in Your Community.
For those of you who I haven't aren't aware, Jarrett was on the Sci-Fi Channel's Who Wants to Be a Superhero, one of the seasons. He actually won. Season 2. hosted by Stan Lee, and so that's the show that we're talking about, and I'm sure you can find it. It's all over.
Yeah, it's great.
It's awesome. It was really cool. I mean, that's how we first
I
met you.
enjoyed it.
When we first got here, you were doing the what would you after the show you were doing. I interrupted you.
I was doing so after the show I was doing a series around Texas because I was a police officer for the Austin Police Department, and I was trying to tie in from a kid's perspective superheroes and cops to make the police more acceptable to them.
Right. And that's when I first met you.
Yeah, and so basically being a hero in your community, I started every program with telling the kids, although it took 45 minutes to do it, was basically when you wake up every day, ask yourself, who can I help today? And pretty soon you'll be a hero to somebody. And that's the tie-in I've always seen, is that superheroes are, by and large, volunteers. And volunteers are how you become the real world heroes that people need.
Right. How do you think? I know we love Greg because he is just so anti. What's the word I'm looking for? Confrontational. It's very hard. It's very hard for him to get into the being mad about something or that kind of ideal. But how do you think? Good, bad, either way.
Well, I think that what's being said here is brilliant. I think that I didn't really think about wanting to become a superhero or anything like that. I think that the main thing is love. Love your fellow man. Love the people around you, and treat others like you would want to be treated yourself. And
that's my main thing. Is like every religion, every philosophy, every culture has some version of that rule: do unto others.
Yeah. And I think that's a keystone. And I mean, if everybody acted that way.
Yep.
Which I think has always been, we talk about this a lot on how, like, DC does archetypal characters in there, and they all stand for that one iconic, like, message, like truth or justice or love and things like that. And I think that that's why a lot of them resonate so well with people, even though they're so fantastical in the way they tell the stories, is because they are these archetypes. And you can say, like, I really identify with Wonder Woman because she has this amazing outfit, but also she represents, like, truth and love. And when I see, like, I get that in every aspect of her character, and it sticks with you and it kind of resonates. And I think that that's something you can take away when reading, especially in the DC universe. Like I said, they do, like, every member of the Justice League has one of those set things that they stand for. And so.
And also, I think that one of the most amazing things I've ever saw with Wonder Woman is that she actually uses her lasso of truth on herself.
Right.
So she can't lie to herself. She will actually meditate with the lasso of truth around her, Yeah. So I thought that was brilliant and amazing. Yeah.
Oh, awesome. So the modern world, Prentiss, how do you think? What values do you think superheroes should represent or do represent? What do you think people, when they read comic books or see these movies, what is it do you think is the core of what they should really take away from the message?
Well, love, of course. I mean, that's what the ride is all about. I mean, the ride is, and like these other organizations, we don't really have this evil monster to defeat.
That can be argued. Yeah.
Yeah. We.
Right.
Yeah. Well. I mean, in our community, we're helping people in a situation that need help without the services that the beneficiary agencies we raise money for. Without those services, these people would die.
Yeah.
So there is a evil monster.
Saving lives. That's the thing.
It is saving lives, but not against someone other than the mindset of people who carry the stigma.
Yeah, and that's what this question is. It's like the mindset of people. How do superheroes influence the thought and?
I keep coming back to the word empathy. And what I feel very, very strongly about. I think we're going to talk about it later, but what quality makes a superhero, and that is the ability to see all of us as one. I don't really see it as villains and good and bad. I don't like the us them mentality.
That is my biggest thing. Yeah.
I think that's what continues to drive us apart is that us them mentality.
It's so many people.
But we're all one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Watchmen was one of the prime examples of that. Both the comic book and the movie, they achieved it in a different way, but it actually kind of surprised me how many people saw that, and I had to explain to them what the point was at the end. And they're like, I don't get it. It just shocked me how many people didn't get it. But the whole idea is like, we're talking about Ozymandias doesn't think he's a villain, and in the end, even the other heroes kind of have to sort of agree with them. It's like he went about it in like the really, really wrong way, but you saw what he achieved. And the whole idea was the world lived under the us versus them for so long. He wanted to make everybody the us. Right. You know, he created a fake them. And in the movie, Dr. Manhattan was the them, but still, you know, he united under a common enemy. You know, so superheroes being selfless without having any preconceived goals, then you wouldn't have to worry about it being us, if that makes any kind of sense.
And I think one of the things that's important to keep in mind is reading in general brings this to light. Like this has this conversation by having like people who read do have more empathy. That's a proven scientific fact that readers have more empathy than other people because you're having to broaden your mind to somebody else's perspective.
Literally walking in someone else's shoes.
Yeah, you're seeing this, and that's one of the things that.
Well, not literally, figuratively.
Figuratively, having diversity in the comics is so important because of that. Like it brings those ideals. Like for me, you know, when not to get like super political, but it's necessary. Yeah. Like when the Muslim ban went into effect, I was recommending Kamala Khan read Ms. Marvel to everybody because she talks about that exact thing. We're all one, and if you're a hero and you do one good thing, then you're a hero for everybody. Yeah. Because you've done this good thing and you're helping somebody. And it was like, this is actually like, look at this character. She's a part of us. She's who we are. She's doing the same things you are. She looks different than you, but she's also still an American.
Right.
And she just like, she's making that change. She's doing that. And at the end of the day, it's great to be able to say, this is another thing you can take away from that is you can see these characters. You can see the difference. I think we were talking before about how you guys are trying to have a really big Black Panther influence this year. Because it's important to have that representation and to show like
both Black Panther and Wonder Woman this year. Amazing. That's the next question is the modern, what the influence on our modern culture is on the mass proliferation of superheroes in media right now. So we're at this huge precipice of superheroes are everywhere. Like everywhere. There was a point in time when like I was desperate to get to that one for me it was the Flash when it came out, the first series Flash, you know. It's like I had to get home, I had to make sure I was set up, and VCRs you could still record things on the tape.
There were few and far between.
And then but I made sure that I watched it because there was something. And now there's so many that we can actually there's something like I don't watch.
You have to pick and choose.
You pick and choose, and that never happened before. But that's what they call embarrassment of riches. There's so many that I can't watch them all. However, it makes me so happy that I can't watch them all because that means they can diversify. There's ones that other people can watch, you know, and so but Wonder Woman and Black Panther especially went so far and broke those molds, showed the need and the demand for that kind of diversity, and it's one of my friends, we've had this conversation a lot about, no, you don't have to be that color or that sex or that religion to empathize with them, but at the same time, having it there and showing it makes so much of a huge impact.
And to really a huge impact that's about to happen, just announced this week, Batwoman is getting a show
on CW.
And that is so many things because will be the first female superhero TV show since Wonder Woman. Really, we don't have any Supergirl. Yeah, those are the only two that it's true. But we don't really have
and it's not just female.
Jessica Jones
doesn't count. It's on Netflix.
Well, and that's the thing though is it's Jessica Jones is amazing. It's representing women characters in a completely different way, which is so important. Batwoman is important because just like in the comic book, she was the first gay character to self-title headline a comic book.
Right.
You know, so for also not just being a woman, also being gay, also being Jewish. These are some important things. These are the things that made the comic book so amazing, and any other media with her in it. I was just at Lego store yesterday because I like Legos. I'm desperately waiting for the Batwoman Lego to come out.
If you haven't read anything on Batwoman, I highly suggest Elegy by Greg Rucka.
Greg Rucka, yes.
Yeah. It'll give you a nice opening to who Batwoman is, and yeah, it's a really wonderful window to get into that character.
Yeah. So yeah, the diversity and stuff, and you were talking also about the real heroes. Sorry, I'm trying to remember where I was trying to go with that.
You started with the proliferation,
right?
The masses.
The masses of it. Yeah, it's on everything and so many different shows. Thank you. It's just we have so much good stuff. I can't even organize it all in my brain. Shield is a really good show. I did not think I was going to like this last season as much as I did, and it ended on Shield is huge diversity to me. Like I see so many good characters. I mean, they lost some of the cooler ones along the way, but by the end of it, one of the main messages was talking about being a real hero to people, and they were actually citing the military, the police, the firemen, and those have always been huge influences on comic books and comic book readers. So, I mean, as a former police officer, how do you feel about superheroes? Do you think that takes away from that importance?
Well, you know, I'd much rather see everybody going to superhero movies than mass murderer movies. You know, I think the more love and goodness you throw out there, the more you're going to get back. So if people are going to superhero movies, they make you feel good. Usually the good guy wins.
Yeah.
Hollywood, general Hollywood is still very much good guy is identifiable, bad guy is identifiable. And life is so much of gray, as you said earlier, but it helps people to at least have a starting point.
Yeah.
If Superman is the epitome of good and some, you know, Zaz is the epitome of evil, at least we have some bookends here. Almost all of us are going to fall somewhere in between. Yeah. But let's float towards that good side. Yeah. And now I see it as we have a lot more examples of that good side with these superhero movies. So yeah, I think it's a great thing.
Yeah, cool. I know that I've mentioned it before in several of our other shows. I am so tired of dark.
Yes.
I'm so tired of dark.
We'll
it's
talk
been
about
way
that.
Overdone.
Yeah, totally.
Way overdone.
We're going to address that here in a minute because that's actually a very important, complete aspect on its own. So give us a second. We're going to formulate our thoughts. Obviously, I'm all over the board here. Great crew, great ideas bouncing back and forth. And we'll come back in another segment here in a second. Or whenever you click buttons. Or